Alright, so this is what I decided to do for my semester feasibility report. I had noticed that throughout, whether it be residential or workplace, people were having issues with their computers. I decided to take a closer look at this, of course, and then I found that it was not only a residential or familial-based issue, but rather it extended into the business space of the greater whole of the market. And so what was happening was, I was noticing it's just a basic issue. And so, of course, the problem was workers were only trained to work their task. They are not trained to maintain them. So that is to say that if an error did occur, they would have no idea how to do it. Now, that isn't to say that none of them had any idea how to fix the issue. There were some that did know. However, there was a lot of the time that it was a very simply fixed issue that could have been rectified very quickly, but they just weren't able to fix it, and so their machines went down. They, of course, had then lost time to perform their daily activities, and thus lost a lot of activity, which, of course, leads to the biggest problem as a result of any time that that's down, and that is the loss of profit. And then, of course, that's not a good thing to have happen. So then I was asked myself, what could we do to fix that? So I looked into this different businesses and what their different plans to rectify those issues were. I found there were a lot of businesses that had kind of already done this, but then there were others who were still kind of doing a partial solution, as I've shown here. They were trained how to use the devices in a business standpoint, but not so much in like a troubleshooting or daily maintenance sort of deal. And so what was happening was they did have some very common basic knowledge. I mean, what you would have to have, expect to have for someone who, would use a computer on a daily basis. There are, however, also IT staff that are there and are able to help, but they can't always get there in the quickest amount of time. I mean, you have a couple of thousand computers in an area, I mean, even a couple hundred, even maybe 10 to 20. You're not going to be seeing these people very often if you have an issue, because sometimes those things take a little bit of time to fix. So they were trying to fix it, but they were ill-equipped to do so. So then what I went ahead and I looked into that a couple of other businesses had tried and seemed to have been working out really well for them was to go ahead and employ a third-party company to go ahead and instruct them in how to properly use and maintain their systems. So what the third-party company would do is they would go ahead and have a mass seminar where they would have everybody together and they would go ahead and do a little teaching deal and kind of go over the basics of how to, connect a printer or Wi-Fi, how to fix their keyboard if their keyboard went unplugged for whatever reason. Just basic checks to make to go ahead and see that everything's working appropriately. And then, of course, afterwards, it was never good enough to go ahead and just do the website or do the basic seminar. They always had to have some supplementary information that was given to them, whether that be through an online portal or through some other classes. But I found that the most useful one that they employed was to go ahead and have a temporary online portal with a regular almost assignments, so to speak, where they would go ahead and have something that would be a little basic quiz to go ahead and check up on that. And then, of course, the new one would be to mandate that all people who would be employed into said new work pool would also have to undergo basic training, not to the extent that the original employees underwent, but just a basic one, because it was found that the old employees who had undergone the initial training would be more than happy to help their fellow coworkers if they had a question. And then, of course, once they had help with the question, they remembered how to fix it, and the problem with that went away, and we were no longer going to deal with it. And, of course, the desired end result that I noticed would happen more often than not was that there'd be fewer problems and fewer machine downtime. Employees were also more confident in their work, and that, of course, led to an overall raise in the attitude of how they were proceeding their work and what they were doing, because with greater confidence, they had greater knowledge on what to do, and it overall made the environment a much happier one to work in. Thank you for your time. That was my presentation on the feasibility report of whether or not to train employees how to troubleshoot their machines, and I hope you have a wonderful day.